Hi everyone, Tally and Farrell here from Board of It, and welcome to the second video in our series, Best Board Game and Drink Pairings to Elevate Your Game Night. We've picked a selection of our favourite games and we're just going to go through the games one by one and tell you a little bit about what we like to drink along with playing these games to just help us to elevate our experience and immerse ourselves in the theme of the game.
Yes, because you often pair things together because they complement each other and make the experience more enjoyable. Wine and cheese, whatever, chocolate and whiskey.
Yeah, I was going to say whiskey and chocolate.
And why not do it with board games and drinks? Because board games have very immersive themes and you can elevate that a little more by having the correct drink pairing. So without further ado, we'll begin moving through, and this video is timestamped so you can just jump to the games you're interested in or the games you have and so on. Now, our first game is Hansa Teutonica, which is a classic Euro that is very highly recommended by us. And in simple terms, you're traders in old-timey Germany, or merchants, I can't remember which, trader merchants, both. Well, you use both. And you're trying to connect these little trade routes across Germany, and then when you connect them, you can either kind of upgrade your abilities or you can create a trading post, which scores you points when anyone else then creates a route in that space. And in practice, this just looks like putting cubes down on little trade routes on your turn. It has very minimal components. It's very easy to teach, but there's actually a big wealth of gameplay here. There's a lot of different routes you can take, and you will have to take them because everyone's fighting over space. It's very interactive for a Euro game, but it's very highly recommended. But why don't you tell them what our pairing is? Because we're going to start off nice and easy.
We started off nice and easy and very self-explanatory. And the drink we like to drink with this game, I've already drunk too much, you see, is a nice German beer. In this instance, me and Farrell have gone with Paulana.
And Erdinger.
Pronounce that correctly. Weiss beers. And generally, we'd recommend to find a German beer that is as old as possible and also adheres to the German beer purity laws.
Purity law. Yeah, so the older the better to make sure it matches with the old-timey Germanness of this board game. So...
And if you can find something beige to go with the beige trader vibes, this is kind of matching here, then that's just an extra tick. Yeah. So simple, self-explanatory recommendation here from us.
So, summary, German beer, the older the better. And it just suits Hansa as a game because it's very, even though there's a lot of strategy that can be done, it's still very light. Your turns are very quick and it's very funny. You're going to be laughing because you'll be blocking other people off and these kind of things. It's interactive and just goes really well with having some nice German beer.
Yeah, it's a real Friday night beer game. I think it plays in about an hour, right? Yeah. Kind of under an hour. So you can definitely get a few games in, which we often do. So just nice Friday night beers. If you can get some pretzels, that's even better. Big doughy pretzel. Yeah. Put this in a Stein glass, even better.
Yes, that's a good shout, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Hansa Teutonica and German beer, and we'll move on to the next pairing.
So next up, we have Irish Gauge, which is part of the Iron Rail series by Capstone Games. We'd maybe describe it as my first 18xx game, and you'll be bidding for shares in railway companies on the Emerald Isle in Ireland. Well, not in Ireland, it is Ireland. And trying to outbid your opponents for these stocks and shares in the different railways. You'll be building up the railways and calling for dividends. So you'll want to be investing in the railways that are going to pay out the most money and trying to maintain the monopoly on the ones that you do have shares in so you don't have to share.
/ you want to buy into your opponent's railways that are doing good.
Yes, exactly. Yes. But then the share price goes down for everyone when the dividends are called.
Yeah, but you get more and they get less. So it's always a better option for you.
Yeah.
Unless they then buy into your company. But
it's a very, very fun game. We really love it. All of our friends love it, don't they? Yeah. Really just, I would even maybe describe it as a little bit of a party game almost because of the bidding and the interaction, and a lot of the fun from the game comes from the interaction between the players. So
exactly. Like we first played this on a Friday night with like 5 people, and it just went down really well because it's quick as well. It plays in under an hour. And something that said a lot about this, and I think maybe the other Iron Rail games, has one A4 sheet of rules, double-sided, and that's it. And it's very simple to explain, even if maybe people won't get it till you start playing.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yes. What would you recommend to pair?
What would I recommend? Well,
Irish Gauge.
Because it's Irish Gauge, we're going to go with a nice Irish whiskey. And here we have selected Teeling whiskey, which is a brand from Dublin. No, sorry, Dublin.
Yeah, it's Dublin.
And we actually visited this distillery. I think they've now moved out to producing in the countryside and it's not working. No, it is a working distillery. We went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't really remember.
I'm thinking of Jameson, which is another recommendation. Irish whiskey.
Of course.
Any Irish whiskey will do. But it is a working distillery in Dublin, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went there and they do a few different expressions. This is just the small batch one. And they've got like a single malt and they've got like ones with grains and there's a few different ones, but they're all quite excellent. And this is becoming more and more popular, actually. You see it in more and more places. So, yeah, it's going to be Irish whiskey because it's Irish Gauge. It's a party game, so it goes quite well with having a drink. And you can really get that, light Irish kind of fruity taste.
Get my investor vibes as well. Like people sitting around drinking whiskey or whatever when you're making business deals and that. Yeah, I'm not a whiskey connoisseur at all. That's more your realm. But I do actually really enjoy this.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Exactly. So yeah, very simple. Any Irish whiskey, but we recommend Teeling. Otherwise, Jameson's always good if you want to go for the cheaper brand. I'm a big fan. It's a really standard whiskey, but it's really nice for me. Or you can go Green Spot. We have a friend that's a big fan of Green Spot, which might be a little harder to find. But yeah, so Irish Gauge and Irish whiskey. Cheers.
So the next game is Castles of Burgundy. And I'm going to describe the game because it's one of my favourites. Yeah,
because it's one of the games that Tally can reliably beat me in.
Yeah, it's one of the only games I can consistently beat Farrell at, and he gets super mad. So
yes. It's an absolutely trash game for trash people.
It's a great game. How dare you? How dare you? So in Castles of Burgundy, you're a prince in the 15th century in France, and you are basically working to make your duchy the best duchy in all the land. It's a dice placement game in which you'll be spending those dice to acquire tiles or to put the tiles into your duchy to essentially score victory points.
Yeah.
Various different tiles that you have. So you have castle tiles, river tiles, and they all kind of give you different kind of bonuses. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you place a castle tile, you get to take another turn immediately with like an imaginary dice of any number. So you basically get free turns to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Things like that. So you combo a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
It's a pretty old game. I think this might be the 20th anniversary edition, actually. So it's pretty classic. Euro dice placement game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're a big fan, so we definitely recommend this as well. But for the recommendation, what else would we recommend but a Burgundy wine? So a wine from the region of Burgundy. And you can either go with, I forgot the white grapes is just
the Chardonnay.
Yeah, Chardonnay grapes, or I believe the red is Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the region of Burgundy. So we've gone with a white and the Chardonnay, and this is honestly, I think, maybe the most expensive bottle of wine we've ever bought.
Yeah.
So I hope you appreciate the value we're putting behind this channel.
The investment to our craft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have to drink all this now. It's open, like tonight, as well as all the other drinks that we're having to do. So it's also probably the oldest wine I've ever had, which is 4 years old, because I'm an absolute pleb when it comes to wine.
Well, I have been wine tasting in the Bordeaux and Medoc regions of France, so I think I've had older, but I don't make a regular habit of this. I'm pretty sure this is the oldest one that we've bought for us.
Full-bodied.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
You can taste those extra 3 years.
Let's have a little try. Yeah, we went with a white wine because we're more white wine people than red wine. Although I do think Pinot Noir is a lighter grape. I might be completely making this up and being a Philistine, but I believe Pinot Noir is a lighter red, so it could be okay, but we might
I only drink red if it's free. So I would never buy red.
If it's the only thing left at a wedding on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay. Sorry, yeah. So
good.
we got this, Burgundy Chardonnay. There's a bunch of French here. It's called Merlin. I guess that's the brand, Merlin. Yeah, Merlin Chardonnay. And as you can see by us tasting it right now, it's pretty good. And obviously, we recommend this just because it matches the region of France. You could probably, maybe they make cognac in Burgundy, so maybe you could have some cognac as well. Have to look into that. But yeah, so we just recommend Burgundy wine, red or white, your choice, any brand, because we're wine plebs. So if you want to recommend some, that's also great. But yeah, so quite a simple pairing. And I guess because you're building a duchy, it's a bit more of a refined game, so you can have your fancy wine and sit there and build your castles.
Yeah, it's
and feel like a lord.
A prince would drink this, right? Like wine, exactly. So it fits into the theme with that regard as well.
Yeah. So that was our pairing. A Burgundy wine, either red or white, with the castles of Burgundy.
Cheers.
Now we move on to the next game, which is Food Chain Magnate. And we apologise if you hear background noise, because Meg is snoring extremely loudly.
If you don't know Meg, that's our dog.
Yes.
Not a person.
Yeah, that would be pretty weird. Food Chain Magnate is a very brutal spotter game about running or being a food chain magnate. I was going to say run a food chain empire. So you have like this map and you put little restaurants down on the map and you have people and houses and you have to market them to tell them what they want. So you put a big billboard that looks straight into their window. Suddenly they're overcome with the desire for burgers. So then they drive and try and find burgers, and whoever's burger joint is closest will get their hard-earned money. And it's very brutal. You can undercut, so they'll drive, but then if you're a lot cheaper, well, they're going to drive right past the first one and go somewhere else. So it's very sandboxy in that there's a lot of different things you can do with it's an all right rule set. It's a difficult game. It's a heavy, tough game, but it's also not over complex either. And there's some very simple rules that, they're going to travel for the closest and or cheapest kind of thing.
It's just hard to wrap your head around. I think it's
but there's a lot of mechanics here for what you get, so it's quite good. But of course, because it's all about commercialization and mass production and mass marketing and advertising, what you have to pair is the most commercial drinks you can find. So for us, because we're in Europe, the equivalent would be Heineken. So, and actually in the box they have green beer bottles.
Yeah,
so you could also say Heineken. If you're in America, of course, Budweiser would be the choice, or maybe Coors. As mass market as possible. Look up which sells the most. Get that as generic as possible. Or if you don't want alcohol, then obviously Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah, that would really fit quite perfectly. Yeah,
because you also sell Coke in here.
Yeah, you can actually be a drinks chain magnate, right? Yeah. And have a restaurant that only sells drinks, and that can be a strategy to make sure that if everyone else is going for burgers and pizzas, you market drinks and sell drinks so that the customers who want the drinks will come to you. But fits quite in nice with that. Ideally, what you should do is to put this in a glass and then get a paper straw, maybe, that's red and white striped. Very 50s, that would go in because it's kind of very set in the 50s, right?
Or
very
just drink it in the middle of the day, just like they did in the 50s. Or just drink it
in the middle of the day.
Working lunch.
Yeah. So this is a bit of a out there suggestion that you might not necessarily think of. A suggestion that I would also like to say that I've been thinking of, but we couldn't be bothered to put one together, is like an ice cream float or a root beer float or something like that. I don't even know what root beer is, if I'm being honest, but it sounds like it would fit really well with the game. So just maybe some kind of, I would like a cream soda, put some alcohol in there, and then get a scoop of vanilla ice cream on the top, and then, again, the straw. That would be perfect for this as well.
Yeah. So, whatever you go for, just make sure it's extremely commercial. Obviously, Budweiser, Heineken are the best. Just kind of things. Coca-Cola as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. Alternatively, you could even pair this with food and have pizza or burgers.
Oh, yeah.
It depends how greasy you want your game pieces.
That's true.
But yeah.
Pizza, burgers, Heineken.
Yeah.
That's like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect 3-hour game on a Friday night.
Yeah.
But probably don't get too drunk with this one or else you'll get absolutely
That's so true.
smacked.
Yeah, that's also a good suggestion why for beer because it's
low percentage.
low volume.
Yeah.
You need to have your wits about you in this one.
All right, so that was Food Chain Magnate and whatever commercial beer or soda you can get your hands on. Now we are on to Anno 1800, which is a favourite of the year for us. Maybe not the favourite, but it's definitely up there.
Yep.
I think top 3, and we had a review out if you'd like to know more. But the short version is you're someone that's discovered an island or come to an island or been put in charge of an island. We're still not really sure. And there's kind of no one else there and you build a town, and then it's about making your people happy, so your population. So you get these population cards and they have images of people and they want things. So, you know, at the start you can kind of have people who want simple things like some beer and some soap. They want to have a nice bath and have a relaxing beer.
Sounds good.
And then later in the game, you can get more complex needs like artillery and champagne and fine clothes. And, you know, it's very much, would you say engine buildery in a way? It's like progression though. So
yeah, progression's a good one.
What you do is you have these workers and you send them to a factory you own to make stuff. So if you want to make some soap, you probably need pigs and some other stuff. So you send like one worker to the pig farm, and you send another worker to whatever else you need, bricks or coal or something, I'm sure, to make the factory. And then you can take the tile from the middle and you now have that industry. Then in future rounds, you can send someone there to produce like that good, whatever you've made. And they get more and more complex and they require more and more things. So you have this steady progression system of expanding your island, which has finite space, and kind of balancing your workers, because early on you'll need workers of certain colours and later you'll need more advanced workers. And yeah, it's by Martin Wallace, who's famous for working on Brass Birmingham, and it's just a very good game.
Yeah, you always need a thing to get a thing to get
Yeah.
another thing to get another thing, so you sort of have to be planning a little bit in advance what you need and when, and kind of a bit of turn optimization as well.
And there's some really great interaction as well. So why don't you explain what drink we've chosen for this game?
So we have chosen some lovely champagne.
Yes.
Several reasons. Yes. Several reasons
Quite.
why we have chosen champagne. Firstly, is a very basic reason, because it's an item in the game. It's an item that certain citizens in your town, city, whatever it ends up being, want. And it's one of the higher level items that you have to really work through in order to be able to produce it. So in order to produce champagne, you first need to have a glass factory, and then you need brass as well, I think. And so you have to work your way through the industries in order to end up with the final product, which is champagne. And also, because in this game there is quite a lot of interaction, so you don't always have to have that industry for yourself. You can trade with your fellow island owners in order to get the things that you need to make the other things that you need. So if I want to make the champagne factory, but I don't have a glass factory, I can trade with Farrell to get some glass. So it's quite nice to sit around and say, Farrell, will you trade with me for some glass, please? And, you know, quaff champagne at the same time.
It's not even so much because you can never refuse a trade. You just get money for it.
Yeah.
But what it is that multiple. So I think there's like 2 of each tile.
Yeah.
And so half, if you play 4-player game, half the people can have the tile. So if you don't have that and you go, who has glass? 2 people go, I have glass, and they obviously both want the money. So then you kind of start soapbox grandstanding and being like, I make the best glass, highest quality.
Exactly.
And trying to get them to pick you, which goes quite well with having little champagne.
We get a lot of table talk out of this game, don't we? And a lot of unexpected humour, which is maybe why, like we said in our review of the game, why we love it so much, because of the funny things that come out. So, I pitching for some sausages, and my other two fellow players have a sausage factory. Sausage factory. And then they'd both be like, I have the best sausage. Pick me. Yeah. So it's just, it's a bit of added humour and elevates the game a lot for us. So it's quite nice to, swish champagne.
I think as well. So you've got the fact that you make champagne in the game. You're all kind of industrialists in some way because you're kind of industrializing this island and building industries, and that goes quite well with, sat in your upper office, sending workers out. You also host a festival to give all the workers a day of rest and get them back well rested. So, obviously champagne for the festival. Yeah. And just little things like this.
There's a mural on the back of the board that really, they would definitely all be drinking champagne. Yeah. It has that palm trees, like an indoor pavilion type of vibe. So glass domed, like a fancy hotel. That's what it reminds me of. Glass domed, palm trees. They're all stood around. They would definitely be drinking champagne.
Yeah. So Anno 1800 and champagne, and we have gone for champagne, Charles Montaigne. We know even fancy one. Yeah, we know even less about champagne than we do wine. So just get whatever the hell you want. But we got this one because it looks like the one in the game.
It really, really does.
But yes, so Anno 1800 and champagne.
So next up we have Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a worker placement deck building game. It's won a bunch of awards now. Very, very popular and hyped game from the last 8 months.
Yeah, it came out November, October last year.
Yeah, so nearly a year it's been out. A game which a lot of people really love. Yeah. We have a full review on it if you want to find out more about our thoughts. And we also did a playthrough video of Lost Ruins.
Christmas themed.
It was Christmas themed, yeah. Okay, so it was nearly a year ago. Yeah. Wow. In Lost Ruins of Arnak, you are an explorer on an island and you'll be trying to find artifacts. You'll be fighting off guardians and collecting items as well and gathering victory points.
Yeah. Like you said, it's very... I think the reason it's very popular is that it's very accessible. It's very pretty. It's very colourful. It's very bright. So I think a lot of people who are looking to get into board games, I actually said in our review that I think it's a perfect gateway game. Mm-hmm. If you've done your Ticket to Ride, this would be a great next step. Yep. Because the worker placement and the deck building is kind of the most basic versions of those. So you only ever have 2 workers, no more, no less, and you put them on the space. That space is taken. You get resources for that space. Very simple. The deck building, you kind of cycle through your deck and you can buy cards and you get them eventually when you draw them, depending how many cards you have, because they go on the bottom of your deck. But it has some really nice resource tokens. It's very colourful. It's a pretty fun, vibrant game. Yeah,
resource management as well, right? So you'll be spending the resources that you gather along the way to either fight off the guardians, or you can spend them on going up a research track as well. So you just need to make sure that you always have the right resources for what you need to do, and that's part of the fun as well for me. Just trying to think of the puzzle in your head about, okay, I need this one item, and if I do that, I will get that, and then that will lead me to get that. So always kind of optimizing on the resources that you have.
Yeah, so I think you really liked it. Again, I think because you can beat me at it pretty well. I was less enamored by it, I think. I mean, I have to say, I do think it's a fun game, and I don't if someone was like, do you want to play? I wouldn't say no. I just think that, like I said, I think it's an amazing kind of gateway game. Yeah. But I think it's just not for me personally. I think, all the stuff it does, like I said, it's the kind of most basic version. So I found, it's just not that exciting. I think different parts of it feel out of sync with each other. Mm-hmm. Like the research track is really brutal and tight, but then other parts are really loose and fun. And just little things like that. Yeah.
Anyway, so watch the review to hear more about the thoughts on that. What's the drink that we want to pair?
I know you're desperate for it. So we're stepping up the game here. And the drink that we're going to pair with Lost Ruins of Arnak is a hurricane. And this is a classic, I believe, New Orleans cocktail, Hurricane. And it's essentially a lot of rum and a lot of fruit juices. So what do you think of it?
It's a lot of rum. Mm-hmm. I took a sip just as you said, a lot of rum, and got the hit. No, that's really nice.
It's strong.
It's tropical.
Strong and fruity, yeah, tropical. So yeah, you have light rum, you have dark rum, and I believe that we're going to have a recipe appearing so you can see and pause. But yeah, light rum, dark rum, passion fruit, orange juice, grenadine, some sugar, well shaken. Mm-hmm. And yeah, essentially the reason we're pairing a Hurricane is because this is, fun, it's vibrant, it's fruity, it's fresh, which is a lot like the Lost Ruins of Arnak. It's very colourful. It's a very colourful game. Your island, it's tropical, you're discovering. So obviously, judging by the artwork, it's probably some sort of tropical Caribbean or African island. So let's say it's a Caribbean, and then you get the rum. But yeah. Although I think this is a fictional island, so it could be anywhere.
But it goes under the umbrella of tropical.
Yes, tropical. So that's why you have the rum, that's why you have the fruit juices. And, it's got to be hot there. You're exploring, you're digging up relics. You want a nice, refreshing cocktail.
Cool and refreshing with a lot of ice in.
Also, it was probably again, we're making a lot of stuff up here, but say in, the Explorer age, 1930s or whatever, that kind of thing. So, what more did they love then than having a lot of alcohol in a cocktail?
This is what's also fun about thinking of drinks to pair, right? We're extrapolating a bit on the theme, but you can do that with your pairing. Oh, it's tropical and it's this, and just even deep dive into the theme even more, right?
But yeah, so I think this just complements it really well because this is a fun, less intense game. So it's nice to pair with a really intense, strong cocktail. A really light, fruity cocktail.
I like that it's called Hurricane. Even though it's light and tropical, it's called a hurricane. I feel like if you're on this kind of island, you might be subject to different weather, and it's going to be extreme, right?
Yeah.
So this
or
fits
my
in
temper when you beat me.
Can
be described as hurricane-like.
So I want to play now, so I want to beat you.
I never want to play again. No. Well, there's a new expansion coming out as well, actually. So maybe you'll have to get that and you can entice me to play.
Okay.
No. So yeah, Lost Ruins and a Hurricane was this pairing. Moving on to Wingspan, the incredibly popular game that I would be very surprised if you didn't know what it was. But in case you don't, or you're new to board games, Wingspan is a game by Elizabeth Hargrave, and it lit up the board gaming world in, I think, 2019, 2018, kind of around there. Mm-hmm. And it is a game about birds. It's a very colourful game. It's very accessible. It's definitely a great game to show friends and family that, it can be strategic enough, I think, for experienced board gamers, yet maybe approachable enough for, less experienced board gamers or non-board gamers or families and friends. And that's why it's such a big hit. And it doesn't help that it looks beautiful, has an excellent colour palette, and burbs. So essentially it's kind of an engine building, resource management game, set collection in some ways. Mm-hmm. So you have habitats, and I think you have woodland, prairie, and water. Yep. Wetlands. And you have birds, and they can live in certain one of these habitats, and you kind of fill up these rows of birds. And you only have 4 actions, so you can play a bird, which doesn't really do anything besides playing a bird. You can gain food, and you can gain cards, and you can gain eggs. And essentially, when you do food, card, or eggs, you will activate every bird in that row. And these birds have powers on them, and then they can give you more resources, or perhaps move around, or a variety of other powers. And this is kind of where the engine building comes in, because the longer the game goes on, the more you can combo these powers, and the more powerful you get, and the more birds you can get. And you have some objectives, you score for a lot of different things, and it's generally quite a fun, nice, light game. So, Why don't you tell us what pairing we have?
So the pairing that we have with Wingspan is an aviation cocktail. This was a bit of a fan vote, let's say, because we had this recommended by a few people in the last video that we did in this series. And the main reason why we're pairing an aviation with Wingspan is because it's called an aviation.
Yes.
And birds fly, obviously.
Also, I think the colour palette alone.
I was just about to say, second reason, colour palette. I mean, it's a sort of pastel colour here. This is coming from the creme de violet that is in this cocktail. It just matches aesthetically incredibly well with Wingspan. There's lots of nice pastel colours on the board and on the cards and everything.
And you'll also be soaring after drinking this because there's a lot of alcohol in it.
Nice.
And it's, I think if you drink one of these, you're going to be seeing the birds flying around. But I think,
good.
The good thing is that Wingspan is light enough that you can have a few of these and you could probably still play. It's not going to be like trying to play Twilight Imperium after a few cocktails.
Although we do have a bit of a tradition of drinking beers and wine during Twilight Imperium. But anyway, so an aviation, it has gin, creme de violet, which is what it's giving it the pastel colour, and also some lemon juice. And
maraschino cherry liqueur.
Oh, that's in it as well. Oh, lovely. I'm not the mixologist in this household, it's Farrell, so
hello.
I just sip them. And,
it's one of my many hobbies,
yes.
including board games and pub quizzes.
Yeah, I feel like you should do that hobby more.
Yeah, you do say I go through phases though.
Yeah, you go through phases of making a lot of like really, really good cocktails, very intricate cocktails, and then we don't have any for a while.
Well, the issue is that you just need to do so much prep like we did for this, where you got to get all the little ingredients that you might not usually have.
Yeah.
And so it's just easier because, I mean, you can make some basic cocktails on like a random night, but usually you want to prep first and then it's a whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. But Wingspan is a terrific game, so if you're just looking for something lighter, something you can share with family, but you still want it to be strategic and challenging, definitely go out and grab it. And if you want a drink to pair with it, that drink would be an aviation.
So, moving on, we're going to talk now about Pandemic. We are specifically playing Pandemic Legacy, Season 0 at the moment. We're nearly at the end, but our drinks pairing recommendation can apply to any of the Pandemics, any of the legacy games or the base games.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what Pandemic is, it's a cooperative game in which you are trying to prevent disease spreading across the globe, essentially.
Yeah.
Some hand management in there, and it's very cool. One thing that I really like about it is it's kind of set over the globe, and you have to travel to different cities, and it's kind of turn optimization as well, because you have 4 actions in each turn, and you have to figure out between the group, you know, what makes sense for you to do in your turn before moving on to the other turns to stop the disease spreading. This legacy game in particular is set during the Cold War, 1962. So this one just has a little bit of an added element of trying to stop a disease spreading, but a little bit of, what should we say? Can't think of the word.
Spoiler?
No, espionage is what I wanted to say.
Spy thriller.
Spy thriller, yes. As part of this particular box as well.
So you hoover up more Soviet agents than you do disease in this one.
That's true.
But so anyway, like you said, I think good for any pandemic, this pairing. It's just that this is what we're playing, like you said. And actually we had original, and I actually gave it to my mum when she was over to take back home to the family. Yeah. Just because we weren't actually fans of the original Pandemic. We just, I think, found it. I think we played it too late in our board game career.
Maybe.
So then we just found it a little bit, I think, simplistic. It didn't challenge us. You know, you have the same goal every time. But it is an amazing game as a gateway game, I think, especially cooperative. But we have really enjoyed Season 0. But to get to the pairing, now this is also just like the Wingspan and Aviation. This is also fan recommended pairing or public recommended pairing. And that would be a penicillin cocktail and Pandemic. And
nice bit of alliteration there as well.
Yeah, good point. So obviously, because it's called penicillin and Pandemic and you're curing diseases, it's an easy one. And the penicillin cocktail is also excellent as a cocktail will go. It's a bit of a twist on a whiskey sour, which I think we can all agree is one of the greatest cocktails ever made. Certainly most drinkable. Enjoy it.
Okay.
So in this one, you've got blended scotch as the base because you don't want to waste the good stuff. Then you've got, you have to make honey and ginger syrup, which is pretty easy. Just some water, some honey and some ginger. And again, we're going to have the recipe come up. So you make some of that syrup. That goes in there. And then you also have some lemon juice. And finally, you top it with an Islay whiskey. And generally, this is because Islay whiskies are known for being really peaty and smoky. So you kind of top it and it just has that little edge of smokiness.
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying it actually. Not a big fan of Islay or peaty whiskies. Maybe a little bit strong for me, but this is the perfect way for me to drink it then, because obviously the edge is just taken off a little bit.
All right. So there's not too much more we need to say because it's penicillin for curing diseases. You could use penicillin to cure a disease. Maybe even write a special card, put it in your hand. So. But so we really...
You're allergic to penicillin.
Yes.
Be careful.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm not allergic to Islay whiskey because that would be devastating for me.
Yeah.
So this is a game, I would say, though, that you probably only want one of these because this is a game you need to concentrate and work together and think. And you definitely wouldn't want to be hammered playing this because, well, the Legacy version at least, because you're going to lose and mess up your entire Legacy campaign.
There's no takesy-backsies and redos. Once you've done it, you've done it. But I mean, to be fair, this is quite a good drink because it is quite strong tasting. You're probably going to want to sip it anyway, sip it leisurely throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
So actually works quite well. This will probably last you the entire game because you just have a little sip at a time.
Yep. So that pairing was Pandemic of any kind and a penicillin cocktail. We come to Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, which is a very classic board game. This one's been around for a while. It's the oldest on our list, I believe. I think going back, I wouldn't even like to say, I think the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
87, I would guess.
Wow.
I don't know.
It's older than me.
Maybe. So this Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, it's, well, you could say it's not a board game as such, but obviously it kind of is. And what it is you get this box and there's 10 cases in it. And basically they're not good enough for Sherlock Holmes, so he palms them off onto you, one of his Baker Street irregulars, and you have to solve them. And it's in a lot of ways like a choose your own adventure game where you get given the details of the case and then you make your choice of where to go, and you have a wide range of places. Some are in every game, like, the police or coroner or forensic examiner, these kind of things, records. And basically you just say, okay, so these are the facts of the case. Should we go to the victim's house? Should we talk to their family? Should we go to the coroner? Like these kind of things. And you make these choices, and then whoever makes it, they read it out. And then you kind of take notes and you gather information. Okay, the coroner said this, which leads us in this direction. So you then decide, okay, we'll go to the tobacco shop, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of try and solve the mystery by reading out these passages. And then you can actually end whenever you want. But you have to answer a series of questions and you score, and then you kind of compare yourself to Sherlock Holmes. And you always do terribly because his score is 100. And usually that would mean you solved it in about 5 turns.
Yeah, it's all about getting the least amount of steps, right, in order to solve the case.
But if you did it as well as him, it would be a very boring game because it would be over in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
So, so what drink have we paired with this classic board game?
We have paired a good old whiskey tea.
Yes.
So this is a black tea, just infused with some whiskey flavourings. I actually don't think this particular one is even alcoholic. It just has whiskey aromas. And the reasons why we've paired the whiskey tea with Sherlock Holmes is because the game is set in old-timey London. Obviously, tea, very British, very London. So it just ties in with the theme in that way. And also because, for whatever reason, we really enjoy playing this game on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
I think because it's just a nice sort of cooperative game. The setup time is very minimal. It's almost like a nice way to end the weekend, to just sit down
it's somehow both relaxing yet extremely stressful.
Yeah, there's something relaxing about it. I guess because there's no points involved. I mean, there is points involved, but I mean, it's not.
You're never going to beat Sherlock.
No, it's not competitive, and it's all about just trying to solve the case in as little time as possible. But there's no real pressure to do that.
It's about experiencing the story, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So a nice tea just goes really nice, just really well with when we enjoy to play this game as well as the fact that tea is very British.
Yes, I think as well, maybe this is a personal thing. If we like to have a tea sometimes when we play a game, and if it's a particularly heavy game, I'll have like a more straight tea, so like an Earl Grey. I consider it my thinking tea.
Right. Okay.
So if I don't have to think too hard, I'll have a normal like builder's tea. But if I have to think, it's going to be an Earl Grey, and this is like the next level of that. It's like special occasion thinky tea.
Right. Yeah.
So whiskey tea.
We need to explain builder's tea to maybe people who are not from the UK.
That's a good point.
Builder's tea is just your classic British black tea, breakfast tea, I suppose.
Splash of milk.
Yeah, in Europe they call what we would just call normal tea breakfast tea.
Yeah.
So in Denmark it's breakfast tea, even though we drink it all day. It's not breakfast tea.
Yeah.
But then you have it with milk and maybe sugar.
I think sugar.
Yeah, but
Depends on the builder.
Yeah, it's called builder's tea because builders like their tea nice and strong. So you don't want too much milk. It's just a little splash of milk. Yes. So you could have that with this because it is also quintessentially British.
I think we'll stick with the whiskey tea.
Yeah, something a bit more refined about it as well. I feel like Sherlock is in the upper echelons of society. So
I think why we have to recommend this is that Sherlock usually does cocaine and heroin and morphine and opioids. So we cannot recommend that, especially when trying to solve a mystery in this game. So the next best thing is going to be tea. It's a bit of whiskey tea. Yeah, whiskey tea. Particular one that we are drinking. And also, you don't get drunk. It keeps your mind focused. Sharp. The particular one is from Whittards, which I don't know if this shop is just in the UK or not. I think it is a British shop, but you probably find whiskey tea around. Tea shop. But yeah, that's the particular brand. But I'm sure there are other brands that do whiskey infused tea as well. Or you could just do what my grandparents did, and did. They had like literal whiskey tea most mornings before getting up and going about their day. Just your classic builder's tea, black tea, milk, shot of whiskey. What a time to be alive. Yeah, and I mean, this is when I was growing up in like the 90s, so it wasn't even that long ago. But yeah, they'd always buy Bell's whiskey in particular. That was like their tea whiskey. So you could also do that. What, drink in the morning? Yeah, they just drank it in the morning. All right. So our recommendation was Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and there's actually a few of these different ones with different cases, but any of them will do with some whiskey tea or... I know, I squished the tea. It's all squished. With whiskey tea or whatever black tea you would like. Very British, very Sherlock Holmes. So next up we have Nidavellir. And Nidavellir is a bidding set collection game in which you're trying to recruit a dwarven army to fight the evil dragon. You'll be going around to a series of taverns and making bids to recruit the best soldiers. And essentially you have to make sets of cards in order to recruit better heroes and become the best dwarven army in all the land. Yeah. So you have 5 different types of dwarf. They all score differently. So they're like color-coded. You have explorers, blacksmiths, so on. So it's always interesting because depending what route you go down, different ones are worth different things to you. So you'll bid and you'll reveal at the same time. Highest gets to pick first. And yeah, like you said, if you collect one of every type, you get a hero. Heroes can really alter the game. And it's just a really nice, light, vibrant, fun set collection game, bidding game. Bidding games for us are always fun because they're very interactive. You have a lot of laughs because, I mean, us and our friends are quite savage. So it's like, you know, you always have that, when you outbid someone.
Yeah. The names that have been called around this table over a simple dwarf soldier is
we went away. Something. We went away for my 30th to Greece, and I have to say some of the best times were when we're out on the patio on the table playing Nidavellir with like 4 or 5 people, and just like you absolutely
bleep bleep.
Yeah, exactly. So the drink is going to be, and this is actually new for us because I think we've never tried it before. Right now, this video is mead.
We actually have some legit mead here.
It's even Danish mead. It's even written in Danish, and it's called Valhalla Mjød, which probably 3 of those letters are silent, knowing Danish. But so Mjød is Danish for mead, so it's Valhalla mead. And apparently they give a recipe on the bowl for punch, and they say you can mix it with cognac, which is super cool. So the reason that we've gone for mead is that mead's obviously, you know, a Viking era type of drink. It feels very old age, like you're not going to go in a bar and get a pint of mead.
It's definitely off medieval times.
Yeah, exactly. And because this is basically based on kind of Nordic, Scandinavian mythology, you know, with Odin and Nidavellir and things like this, having mead, you know, a classic kind of Nordic drink is really fitting. Yeah. Also, mead is very light and sweet, which is actually a bit like Nidavellir. It's a very light game. It's very quick paced. It's very exciting. And they just go really well together. Yeah,
you can just imagine them drinking this in the taverns that you go around to in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like Dancing Dragon is one of the taverns, isn't it?
Laughing Goblin.
Laughing Goblin. And it's actually really delicious.
Yeah, mead is, it's like honey made beer. So.
Medieval people
We've gone away from the light. Mead is incredible.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
I mean, it's a bit sickly. I don't know if I could drink a pint of mead, so maybe my original point stands, but great pairing with Nidavellir, if I do say so myself.
Yes.
But it just goes really well, to be honest.
Cheers to the mead. So our final board game and drink pairing, we are pairing a drink with Kemet, Blood and Sand. This is a kind of classic Dudes on a Map game from the Matago trilogy of Dudes on a Map games, including Cyclades and Innis, and it's set in ancient Egypt, and you'll be teleporting your troops around from the pyramids to the obelisks in an attempt to become the most powerful faction. What are they? Factions.
I think you're supposed to. You're doing it to appease your brand of god. Okay. Because you each represent a god, and the colors. Because you have like one's Anubis and one's. So I think you're doing it. You're getting like prayer points, and you're like, you're basically doing
satisfying the gods.
Yeah, satisfying the gods.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we have a full review of Kemet, Blood and Sand. So if you're interested to find out more, we'll link the review down below.
And it is a very popular review as well. Very popular game.
Yeah. And just little spoiler alert to the review. I'm not a massive fan of Dudes on a Map games. Yep. But I do really, really enjoy Kemet, Blood and Sand. I think there's actually quite a lot going on in the rest of the game, that it's not all about combat all of the time. There's other things you can do to achieve victory points.
I'm sorry, but the dogs are fighting each other right under the chair. Svensson's upside down, and they're eating each other's cheeks.
It's Saturday night. They're having a fun time. Yeah. Let's leave them to it.
All right.
But, what's the drink?
Well, I'd just like to say as well, actually, that we claimed that Kemet was the pinnacle of Dudes on a Map, just because there's a lot of fun to be had, actually. It's quite swashbuckly, and you get lots of upgrades.
Guys!
Hey! Come on.
Stop that.
No, calm down now. Someone's balking, that's too much. So you have a lot of upgrade tiles, and these give you crazy powers, or you can get giant scorpions to fight for you, and it's just a really like fun game. But in terms of the pairing, we have gone for. So important to say actually that Kemet is a bit of an older game, and there was recently a Kickstarter for the most modern version, updated rule sets, updated components. And this was called Kemet Blood and Sand, which is what our review is of.
Yeah.
So
tell us what's the pairing.
No, but this is important. No, this is important. So the cocktail is a cocktail known as Blood and Sand.
Hey.
Which is obviously because it's called Kemet Blood and Sand. Now, this cocktail is Scotch base. So you have a Scotch base, you have some cherry liqueur, you have some sweet vermouth, and it's all shaken together. And yeah, so it goes together quite well, right?
It's nice.
Yeah. And essentially, mainly we've gone because they have the same name, which is kind of easy. But also, if I just taste this. Mm-hmm. That's because it's a very, like the cocktail, it's very layered.
Yes,
you can get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
It's appealing to a lot of people. And a lot like the cocktail, actually. There's a lot of things that you would think on the surface wouldn't go together very well. And then when you do, it's incredible and you have a great time.
It's really good. And at a very basic level, the colour kind of matches the box.
Well, yeah. I mean, this one was based on the name, but you can work it to represent the game as
There's
well.
a lot of facets of why we pair this particular cocktail with this game.
Also, this is probably a particularly good game to kind of drink with because it's a silly dudes on the map game. You get these crazy powers. It's probably fun if you have a few beers and you drink or Blood and Sands.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So, our recommendation is Kemet Blood and Sand with Blood and Sand, which is a very solid whiskey cocktail. That was our board game and drink pairing recommendations. A lot of games, a lot of drinks. It's been tough work. We're feeling it. We've got a lot more to finish, especially you, Tally. But we hope these were helpful, and honestly, we do believe in these. We thought of these when we were sober, which is important, and we hope that they will help elevate your game night. If this was helpful to you in any way, we would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. We would love if you have any recommendations that you could comment and let us know. And
so these games or any other games?
Yes, any other games. It's open season. And we'd also like to thank the people who suggested, pandemic and penicillin or...
aviation.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that and the suggestion. But yeah, I hope you get to try these out and have fun. These are all very good cocktails, which we can improve. And it's been good fun filming this. But most importantly, thank you for watching. The dogs say hello.
Stone's down here. I don't know if you can see him from the bottles of alcohol and board games.
Makes hissing a lot.
Bye.